So when you get to the permutations and combination section, and you'll feel it, like you'll immediately feel that. So what it is on set theory, you're going to have your set theory questions, and then you'll have your Venn diagram questions. Immediately after the Venn diagram questions, you'll get into how many ways can you? How many ways can you arrange? How many ways can you select? Like you'll see that right away. So you'll know that you're in this bank of questions. This is going to be around 5 to 6 questions on the diploma. Okay. Um, Probability. So when you put the three together, when you put set theory, permutations, combinations, and probability, when you put those 3 units together, that is half the marks on your diploma. Those 3 units are half the exam. For some of you, that's very bad news because you did not like the word problems. Okay. And I'm sorry, it's just, I don't get to pick how many questions you get. That's a Department of Ed thing. You're very good at set theory. You're very good at Venn diagrams. For the most part, you're okay with the permutations and combinations. Most of you struggled more on permutations and combinations because they are harder. And then probability, you were all okay with as well. And again, when we did these units in class, we did way more questions than what you're actually going to get, right? So it's just a snippet. The problem is you put those 3 snippets together and you've got 50% of your diploma. Okay, so that is just something that you just need to be aware of. So when you're doing these questions, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, does the order matter? The other thing you're looking for are these 2 words. If you see the word arrangement, then you're dealing with a permutation. Arrangements imply order, right? If you're rearranging things, you're putting things into a new order. Whereas if you are just selecting things, then the order doesn't matter. You're just like, you, and you, come with me, right? You don't care about the order. If you don't care about the order, the questions are just NCR. Now, NCR can also be written like that, like just an N over an R. The N was the number that you have. The R is the number that you want. So if I've got 12 of you in class today and I need to pick 3 of you to come into the hallway with me, it would be 12C3. That's it. Okay. Arrangements are harder. So with an arrangement, 98% of the questions that we did, we used the blanks method for. Remember, you drew the blanks and you did the number of choices per blank. Okay. Every once in a while, we use the NPR. We didn't use it very much at all, though. Repeats and together. These were the harder questions. So you have to have memorized the repeats formula and the together formula. You have to have it memorized. Okay, there's no way around it. Now, what you should get in the habit of is you always want to check for repeats, even if you're doing the blanks method. So we'll do a few questions like that so you can see what I mean. But the problem with permutations is there's 4 different things you have to keep in your brain. Okay. I guarantee you're going to get a repeats question. I have yet to see a diploma over the last 5 years that did not have a repeats. Okay, so we'll go through a couple of those together. The together questions, remember this is where you duct taped what you had to put together. Remember it's like, right, stuck them together and then figure out your new total. That was this. These are not as common. These are very common. Okay. Now, of this 5 or 6 questions, let's say it's going to be 5 questions. 3 will be permutations, 2 will be combinations. They always ask more permutations than combinations because there's more to permutations, right? There's just more with it. So keep in mind, what I haven't mentioned is if at any point in time you need to go back and go, oh, you know what? I was absent on the day that she did repeats. I really need to go back and learn that. I can't keep putting that off. Go back into Google Classroom, pull up this unit and find the lesson that says repeats and go back and actually watch that specific video. Okay? So the goal today is just reviewing and doing a general overview. We're not deep diving the way we did the first time through. Okay? So these cheat sheets that I've given you, this little booklet, that's what I'm saying that this is what you need to have memorized coming into the diploma, these 6 pages. Okay? Okay, so in your booklet, we're just going to dive in. Okay? So I'm going to do the first couple with you, and then I'm going to go and let you try a question while I go quiet, and then we'll do it together. Okay, so it's kind of like what we did yesterday. Like you tried, then I went through it. But to get you warmed up, I'm going to start you off. Okay? So it says a 4-symbol passcode must consist of 4 of the following options. Symbols may be used more than once. Determine the number of passcodes if it must end in a circle or a square. So these passcodes are an arrangement of symbols, right? You're arranging these symbols in a row. So this is a permutation question. So that means we're going to do the blanks method. Why am I doing 4 blanks? Because it's a 4-symbol passcode. So do we have any restrictions on any of the blanks? Yep. It's got to end in a circle or a square. So remember, the number that you put here is the number of choices that you have for each of those spaces. So do the restrictions first. So anything that has a restriction on it, deal with that first. So how many choices do you have if it has to end in a circle or a square? 2. Okay, so that's one of the blanks. Now it says here, symbols may be used more than once. Okay, so repeats are allowed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So technically, could you have the code circle, 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 circle? Could you have circle, heart, circle, circle? Yes, right? So you've got 6 choices, 6 choices, 6 choices, and then 2 choices for the last one. And then all we have to do is multiply. So on your calculator, 6 times 6 times 6 times 2, 432. Okay, so we figured this out with this unit the first time we did it. And this is the worst part of this unit, is that if you don't get one of those 4 numbers, you are absolutely no closer to solving that question. Like, you are no closer to where you are. If that happens and you cannot figure out what you've done wrong, your best bet is to pick the answer in the list that is closest to what you thought it was. Because maybe what you missed is just one little thing. Like maybe you went 6, 5, 4. Like maybe you didn't do repeats, right? So in that case, then you'd pick the one that you're closest to. It's the only advice I can give you, unfortunately, with perms and comms, is that if you don't get one of those numbers, you've got to just either keep trying or you walk away, you wait till the end of the diploma, you go back and go, gee, it's been 7 questions since I had an A, and go in and circle A, right? Like really, like if you, unless you, this is like, it's a very polarizing unit. You either get it or you don't. I can show you the tips and tricks, but it's at the end of the day, it's not like rationals where I can see that you just missed a negative, right? Like, and you can get kind of close to the answer. Yeah, unfortunately. Okay, this is a very sneaky question. Determine the number of arrangements. So arrangements, this is a permutation of the word sundresses. So in class, I referred to these questions as your Scrabble tile questions. Remember that? Right? Imagine each letter on its own Scrabble tile. If the arrangement cannot start with an S, okay, without even answering the question, If you, not, I'm not going to say if, when you get a Scrabble tile question, because you are going to get a Scrabble tile question. When you get a Scrabble tile question, the first thing you ask yourself is, do you have any repeats? Every single time. If you get a Scrabble, and the other thing too is, if they give you some random word and you don't know what that word means, it does not mean you can't do the question. It is just Scrabble tiles, okay? So, do I have repeated letters? Yes. So the way we do this is on the bottom, you're going to put your repeats. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 S's, so 4 factorial. I've got 2 E's, so 2 factorial. Is that it? Yes. Okay, so those are my repeats. The top is going to be whatever the question is asking of you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 10 tiles. And we're going to arrange all of them. So I need 10 blanks. And the only restriction I'm told with is that I cannot start with an S. So this first blank cannot be an S. Now the other assumption here is that once you've picked one of the Scrabble tiles, you clearly can't pick it again, right? So once you've picked the U, you can't pick the U again. So the implied assumption here is that there's never repeats, right? Like you can't keep picking a U and picking a U and picking a U. You've got one U tile, and once you pick it, that's it. So how many choices do you have that are not S? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 choices that are not S's. So you've got the Scrabble tiles in front of you. You pick out the R, because R is not S. So you pick the R. How many Scrabble tiles do you now have left in front of you? 9. So then you'll have 9 choices, then 8, then 7, then 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Now, how do you shorthand that? What's another way of writing 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? 9 factorial. Okay, to punch this thing in on your calculator, you got to put brackets around the top and brackets around the bottom. So 6 times 9 factorial. So the factorial button, hit math, go to prob, and pick number 4. Okay, and let's hope we get one of the answers. 45,360. Okay, this is a guaranteed question. It's going to be a permutation with a little bit of a restriction with repeats. I've seen one on every single diploma for the last 5 years. Okay. Okay, let's do one more together to warm up, and then I'm going to let you do one, and then, right, we kind of go back and forth. So a restaurant has the following menu. Now, oh, one other thing. So for those of you that weren't here yesterday, remember the diploma is organized by unit, not by difficulty. So the second question of the permutation section may be super hard, but questions 3, 4, and 5 might be super easy. So just because you get hung up on question number 7 has no effect on 8, 9, or 10. Okay, so you're just going to channel your inner Dory and you're just going to keep swimming, right? You just keep swimming. Okay, a restaurant has the following menu. Salad, you got 3 choices. Pasta, you got 4 choices. And sauces, you got 3 choices. You must select one from each list. Select. So selections are combinations. So you've got to choose one. You've got to choose one. You've got to choose one. The restaurant wants to add dessert. Have you ever noticed that desserts is stressed backwards? Just saying. Desserts is stressed backwards. That's why you eat it. Anyway, sorry, side note. And it's recorded too. Okay, so you want to add dessert, which you must select one from. So we don't know how many choices there are, but we want to select one. If they want to end up with more than 125 choices, so meal combinations, what is the least number of dessert choices that you can offer? Okay, do you remember us talking about and or, right? What does and mean? When you hear the word and, you think times. When you hear the word or, you think add. Okay? Remember that? So you're going to pick a salad and a pasta and a sauce and a dessert because you're stressed. Times. And you need this to be at least 125. So let's plug this into our calculator. Just that part. So how you do it, it's a pain in the butt to plug in, but you go 3, math, probability, and this time you pick number 3. So 3C1 times 4C1 times C1. You get out 36. Okay? So we've got 36 times something has to give us 125, at least 125. So guess and check. Give me a number for desserts. How many desserts do you want on your menu? Let's try 5. So if we go 36 times 5C1, do we get out at least 125? Yes. But let's see if 4, because remember it said the minimum number of desserts? Let's see if 4 would give us the same thing. Did that give us at least 125? Yep. So let's try 3. Did that give us at least 125? No. So that means we have to have 4 choices for dessert. So when you are arranging, you're using blanks method or you're checking for repeats with Scrabble tiles. If you are just selecting, then you're doing NCR. Okay? Questions on those first 3? Okay. So let's have you go to the next page. I want you to try number 4. So I'm going to put a minute on my phone. You're going to try it first, and then we'll go through it together. So this is kind of like what we did yesterday. Yesterday I gave you 2 minutes per question. Because we have so many questions to go through today, I'm only going to give you a minute. So for those of you that weren't here yesterday, if you take 2 minutes per question and then 15 minutes per long answer, you're going to be sitting there for an hour and a half. Okay, so only giving you 1 minute per question is just to give you enough time to think about it. So I don't want to embarrass you, but did anybody get 52? Okay. Did you get 108? Okay. The difference between the answer of 52 and the answer of 108 is both of them are done correctly, but one of them you punched into the calculator wrong and the other one you punched in correctly. So this one was a mean question, and not because the question was mean, but because the choices were mean. Okay. So first things first, are you selecting or are you arranging? I think you're selecting because the word choose is in there. Choose and select are synonyms. So for the local, you've got 3 and you're choosing 1. Now, here's the word and, here's the word or. So here's the trick to this. And means times. Or means add. Okay? So and means times, or means add. So I'm literally just going from the English to the math. So you have 8 specialty, you have to select 1, or 8 specialty, and you're picking 2. If you punch that in exactly as it's written, you will get out the wrong answer. What you have to do is you have to put that in brackets. Now, that will probably not occur to you. So I want to show you a different way to think of it. Think of it as 2 options. Option number 1, you're going to select 1 local and 1 specialty. Option number 2, you're going to select 1 local and 2 specialty. And you're either going to do this or this. So you could punch in this, and then you hit add, and then you punch in this. That is how you will get out the correct answer. So you either think of it as one statement that you have to insert brackets around, or you think of it as 2 separate options, and then you would just punch it in longhand. By the way, the punching in is the worst part of this unit, right? Like it's just, there's no shortcut on that calculator, unfortunately. It would be nice if there was. But that was kind of a mean question. Not because the scenario was mean, but the choices were mean. That's why. Okay, so this one, there's no punching in. This one, you just have to figure out, are we dealing with a P question or are we dealing with a C question? So take a minute, see if you can figure out the next one. Okay, so read number 5, please. Okay, this one is tricky. Okay, you've got 16 kids. From this group, you're going to create 2 people. You're going to select 2 people. Okay? And again, when you see the word select, you automatically think NCR, right? Automatically. The problem is they have put roles to the people you are selecting. So let's look at this one right here, the president and the vice. So I select Keaton and Jayla. Keaton, your president, Jayla, your vice. Okay? Next time, I pick Keaton and Jayla. Jayla's president, Keaton's her vice. Is that a different committee? Yes, because their roles are different. So when you have these two roles, this makes it a permutation question because the different roles imply a different committee. However, Keaton and Jayla, I'm selecting both of you, and you're both going to be presidents. Now, does the order matter? If they're both presidents, does it matter which one I picked first? No. So this one is an NCR. So the co-presidents is 16C2, but when you've got different roles, it's a 16P2. That is a very mean question. I've only seen a couple of these on the diploma. Typically, the ones I saw before this one was where they just gave one scenario and you had to decide if it was a C or P. This one, they took it up a notch and gave you two scenarios that you had to figure out if they were C's or P's. Essentially, what it comes down to is that if you're assigning roles to the people you are selecting, it makes it a permutation unless the role is the same. So if I say, you three come with me, you're all going to go down to the kitchens and cook. Then it doesn't matter what order I pick you. But if I say, okay, Courtney, you're cooking, Tyson, you're cleaning up, Trisha, you're presenting. Now it matters what order I picked you in. Okay, it's a fine line. Okay, you guys try number 6. 1 minute on the clock. Give it a go. So try number 6, please. Same thing. You don't have to punch anything in. You just got to figure out which is the correct formula. Okay. If you can decide if this is an and or question, you can take it down to a 1 and 2 guess. Because and is times, or is add. So is she lending nonfiction or fiction, or is she lending nonfiction and fiction? And. So and means times. So automatically, those two are out. Again, work smarter, not harder. So even if you can't solve the entire question, you can at least go, is it an and or is it an or? If you see the word and means times. If you see the word or, that means add. Okay, let's say 2 of my books are Hunger Games and ACOTAR. If I select Hunger Games, then ACOTAR, is that the same as selecting ACOTAR and then Hunger Games? Yes. So does the order matter? No. The order does not matter. This is straight up, I am selecting 2 books from 5 and 2 books from 6. That's it. It's just a select. If you were to arrange them on a bookshelf, that would be different because now the order of the books matters, right? Depending on what order you're putting them in, that would be then a P question. But we're just selecting and then giving them to a friend. Okay, don't overthink number 7. I don't know what they do up there every day. Okay, the total number of possible distinct arrangements. Okay, each one of them has an on and off position. So touch, you could have on off, lock on off, charging on off, keypad on off, calendar on off, notify on off, reminder on off. How many choices is there for each one of these? Each one of these has 2 choices, on or off. You could have the touch and the lock and the charging and the keypad and. Those are all your settings to the 7th. Not every question is this. Not every question is this. Okay. Now the one we did in class, similar to this, was the on-off switches of a light panel. I gave you 4 light switches and I said how many orders are possible. So each switch could be on or off. So it was 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 to the power of 4. You're tossing 5 coins. Each coin has 2 choices, head or tail. 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 choices, 2 to the 5th. These 2 choice questions, they're incredibly simple, but dang, do you guys overthink it every single time. Okay, try a little numeric response question. So there's nowhere to hide on numeric response. You can't just circle C. Let's see if you can figure it out. Okay. So if you need to draw yourself a picture to go with it, go for it, right? So imagine you've got 9 stalls. 4 cars enter the parking lot. So car number 1. And each parks in one of these stalls. Okay, so how many choices does car number 1 have? 9. So car number 1 parked here. Car number 2 enters the lot. How many choices does it have to enter and park? 8. Car 2 parks here. Car 3 gets in. It's going to park right here. It had 7 choices. Car number 4 comes in, parks down here. He had 6 choices. 9 times 8 times 7 times 6. Okay. Now, quite often, so the diploma actually does hire graphic artists, and your diploma is in color. So if a picture needs to be in color, and they do have excellent diagrams. So 9 times out of 10, there would be a picture with this question and showing 9 parking stalls in front. So visually, hopefully that helps. Okay, give number 9 a try. So as a nudge, if you got D, you've missed something. Okay. If you got D, what you did was, hey, I got 8 cards. I'm arranging the 8 cards. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 8 factorial. Nope, you missed something. What do you notice about the first 3 cards? Besides the fact that my artistic skills severely lack, what do you notice about the first 3 cards? They are the same. What do you notice about these 2 cards? They're the same. What do you notice about these 2 cards? They are the same. This is a repeats question. It's 8 factorial over each of your repeats. When you are doing an arrangement question, you really need to try and remember to always check for repeats. Repeats aren't just repeated letters. Repeats mean identical objects. The example we did in class with those mini boxes of cereal, and I blew some of your minds by telling you that those were actually bowls as well as boxes, okay? Those are identical objects. Same idea, okay? So I don't even know what the answer is, but I'll leave you to plug it in. I'm assuming now that you know where the buttons are, and don't forget your brackets, you can go through that. Okay, try number 10. Okay, identical. It's another word for same. Same is another word for repeats. So you have 4 identical yellow, 3 identical white. Hold on, let me just finish this. So when you have the same objects, those always go on the bottom. So the repeats part of the formula, whatever you have that's identical, whatever you have that's the same, that's what you always divide by. The top is what the question is asking. The question says if a yellow flower must be planted in the middle, the total number of arrangements. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. So the yellow, there's 4 yellows. So you got 4 choices for the yellow. So you picked out the yellow tulips. How many flowers do you have left to pick from now? In total? 6, right? 3 yellow, 3 white. There's no restrictions. So it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You punch that in and you get out your answer. So feel free to take your break. We will reconvene in just a second. Okay, so I just want to go ahead to number 13. So question number 13 is almost a guaranteed question, okay? And it is a standard of excellence. So each unit that you do on the diploma will have one standard of excellence question. When I say I'm pretty sure, I mean I'm pretty sure, right? Like we're not taking me to the bank on it, but I'm pretty sure you're going to get one of these because it's just typically what they do. So it says a student council consists of 3 grade 11 students and 5 grade 12 students. A subcommittee of 3 people must be created and it must contain at least 2 grade 12 students. Determine the number of possible subcommittees that can be created. So whenever we're talking about subcommittees, now again, we're not giving any roles to anybody, right? We're not creating a president and a vice president. We're not creating any roles. This is just plain old NCR. What is different here is that it says at least 2 grade 12s. So the question talks about a subcommittee of 3. So a subcommittee of 3, if you have to have at least 2 grade 12s, means you would have 2 grade 12s and 1 grade 11er, or 3 grade 12s and no grade 11ers. So when you have a question that has cases, you've got to do this or this or this. Okay? Or means add and means times. So or means add and means times. We've got 5 grade 12 students. So I'm going to go 5C2, 5C3. I've got 3 grade 11 students. 3C1, 3C0. The worst part of these questions is then having to go in and plug that whole thing in on your calculator. Okay, so we're not going to stick around to wait for you to do that. I just wanted to go through one of these questions with you that says at least or at most. Okay, so anything that has cases makes it your excellence level. Okay, questions on that? Okay, Tage, that test is right here. So I'll just have you go into the hall. I'll give you this. It doesn't really give you much help, but okay. Okay, go back a few pages in your booklet now to the probability questions. Okay, so let's just hit the pause button before we go into questions. So this is like on like page 2, page 3 of your booklet. They came before the permutations and combinations. Yeah, I photocopied it backwards, I'm afraid. So right after set theory. So the question we just did, so we did number 8, set theory yesterday. Right underneath that, the probability start. Okay, so it's like 2 or 3 paper flips in. Okay, for probability, you're going to get probably, again, 5 to 6 questions on probability. How you will know when you go from perms and coms questions to probability questions, the question will say, determine the probability of. Whereas the perms and coms is determine the number of ways to. So determine the number of arrangements of, determine the number of ways to select, determine the number of ways to. Whereas all your probability questions will say, determine the probability that. So you'll see the word probability in the question. Now, before we even got into the word probability, we talked about odds. So remember, you have odds in favor and odds against. For the odds in favor, it is want, don't want. Odds against was don't want, want. Now remember, I hope, that these two numbers add up to give the total. That total is the bottom of the probability formula. Secondly, the want number is the want number there. So you can use the probability to get the odds. You can use the odds to get the probability. Okay? And remember, the total of what you want plus what you don't want is always going to be 1 or 100%. Always. Right? If there's a 1 in 6 shot of rolling a 2 on a dice, there's a 5 in 6 shot of not rolling a 2. 1 in 6 plus 5 in 6 is 1. Okay. Now on your formula sheet, you are given this formula and this formula. What you are not told is all the words that come with those formulas. So when you get that formula sheet, so when you sit down next door on June 17th, and the teacher says go, you're going to rip that formula sheet out of the back carefully, and beside these two formulas, the ones with the union symbol, you're going to write the word or, not QR. You're going to write the word or, because remember, union means or. And beside that, you're going to write check for overlap. So if your question says, determine the probability of this or this, or means add. So this formula and this formula are the same, except this one is the overlap. So when you get a question saying, what's the probability of going on a walk or going shopping? You have to check, is there a way to go for a walk and go shopping? I guess technically you're walking from store to store, so technically that is possible. It's exercise. If there's no overlap, we call those mutually exclusive. If there is overlap, we call it not mutually exclusive. These are the matching Venn diagrams. So no overlap, overlap. If the question says, what's the probability of this and this happening? On your formula sheet, you see this symbol. You have to remember that that means and. So you're going to write and beside those two questions. And all you have to ask yourself with and is, does the first affect the second? So for this one, the first affects the second. That's what we call dependent events. If the first doesn't affect the second, we call it independent. Here's what I mean. I show you a deck of cards. I say, Trisha, pick a card. She picks it, she looks at it, she puts it back, I reshuffle, she picks another. That's independent because the first picking doesn't affect the second picking. Dependent would be she picks a card, she looks at it, she keeps a hold of it, then she picks another card. Because I went down from having 52 cards to pick from to now having only 51 cards to pick from. But here's the key. And questions, and all you do is multiply. Or you add, but you may have to subtract as well. The ands are easier. Because the and is just first time second. Every single time. The or, you may have to subtract the overlap, you may not. It depends, like some questions have overlap, some questions don't. Okay? They're not going to tell you. It's something you have to check for. Now, the other way to do these questions is to throw this out entirely and to just use Venn diagrams, which some of you did, and you actually liked that. Okay? You are going to get, for sure, 1 or 2 questions that combine what we just did, permutations and combinations with probability. So instead of it saying how many arrangements of the word sundresses start with the letter S, it will say what is the probability of the number of arrangements starting with the letter S. You do it the exact same way. You just now have a numerator and a denominator. So the top will be the same way as before. The bottom will just be the no restrictions. So unfortunately, the probability stuff is a massive amount of memorizing that you're just going to have to get into your brain. You did it good the first time. We just have to work on it again. So in the interest of time, I'm going to try and do as many of these with you as possible, just so that we can work through them. Okay, I don't think I'll be able to get through all of them though. So it says the probability of a soccer team scoring fewer than 3 goals is 0.8. Now, I'm going to take that 0.8 and I am going to convert it to a fraction. So I'm going to go 0.8 math 1 and I'm going to get out 4/5. The reason why I'm doing that is because the next part of the question says odds. Okay. Now, this question, it is mean. Because here's the thing. This is the probability of scoring less than 3 goals. They want the odds in favor of scoring 3 or more goals. So before you can even get to the odds, you have to take this one step further and say, okay, if you've got a 4 out of 5 shot of scoring less than 3, then what's your probability for scoring more than 3? 1 out of 5. So that is step 1. Whoop. So this is your want over your total. So the odds in favor of scoring more than 3 is want, don't want. And remember, they have to add to give the total. So you want 3 or more. That is 1. You know the total is 5. So what is the don't want number? 4. Okay. If that is question number 1 on the probability section, that is going to throw you for a loop. Take a deep breath and go, okay, I am Dory. Channel my inner Dory and just keep going. What made this question mean? It's the odds and the probability is not what made this mean. What made this mean was this said 3 fewer and this said 3 more. That was the mean part, was they changed the condition of the question. Okay. Okay. So here's another, so again, now it says probability. So probability is want over total. So in a bag, there's 8 apples, 6 oranges, 5 grapefruits, and 4 peaches. If one piece of fruit is randomly selected, then what's the probability that it's an orange or a peach? Okay, well, how many oranges do you have? 6. How many peaches do you have? 4. And what do we know or means? Add. So we want, there's 10 pieces of fruit that we want out of a total of, I think it's 23. Okay, for the love of my sanity, watch your roundings. The number of marks some of you have lost this year because you didn't read the question and round properly, astronomical. What does that round to the nearest hundredth? 0.43. When it says hundredth, you should have 2 numbers after the decimal. When it's a 0 point, the first box has to be 0. The second box has to be the point. Okay. Now, that is an easy question compared to that. That's what I'm saying. They're not in order of difficulty. They're just in order of unit. Okay. You are going to get a theory question. So if we look at the words here, so I haven't even read this thing yet, just to go through the terminology. So not mutually exclusive means that there is overlap. Mutually exclusive means that there is no overlap, meaning they have nothing in common. Okay, so this means they do have something in common. This means they don't have anything in common. You're going to select one piece of candy at a candy store. You could select a treat that contains chocolate. You could select a treat that contains nuts. You could select an entirely red gumball. You could select an entirely green gumball. Events W and X. Okay, those two. Is it possible to have overlap? Could you have a chocolate bar with nuts in it? Yes. So these two are not mutually exclusive because they could have overlap. Events Y and Z. Is it possible to have a gumball that has red and green on it? Is it possible to have a gumball that has red and green on it? No. It's either entirely red or it's entirely green. So it's impossible to have both. So those are mutually exclusive. You're going to get a theory question. It will either be with the independent dependent or it will be with the mutually exclusive, not mutually exclusive. Okay, so you have to have those definitions memorized. And when I say definitions, I mean pictures. Right? You have to know which one is the overlap and which one is not. Okay, back to odds. At a restaurant, the odds in favor of ordering a poached egg is 2 to 17. So they want poached. They don't want poached. So when it says in favor, then the first number is the favorable. It's the want. The probability. So probability is want over total. The probability that a customer orders scrambled eggs. So again, they changed the condition on us, is 2 times the probability that they ordered poached. So we need to find poached. So we want poached. So poached is 2. What is the total? It's not 17. What is it? It's 19. Right? You add your want and your don't want to get the total. So to get scrambled, we just times that by 2. So on your calculator, 2 over 19 times 2.21. How did it round it? Again, nearest hundredth, 0.21. Again, a guaranteed question will be a question that involves the word odds and involves the word probability. So they'll either give you the probability and want the odds, or they'll give you the odds and want the probability. It's a guaranteed question. Okay, so this type of question is set up essentially for a Venn question. Okay, so you don't have to do it with Venn. I'll show you how to use the formula, but I'm going to do it both ways because in class, some of you like the Venn, some of you like the formula. So 250 customers ordered food at a concession. 120 got a drink, 110 got popcorn, 70 got both. Determine the probability of getting a drink or a pop. So right here is the or. So or is the union. So when you're doing or, it's the probability of the drink plus the probability of the pop, and then you always have to check for the overlap. You only check for overlap with or questions. Okay? So drink is 120 out of 250. Remember, want over total. So 120 over 250. Pop, popcorn, I should say. Yeah, this should say popcorn. Sorry. 110 out of 250. Both is 70 out of 250. And you would just punch that in. Okay? Like just punch it on your calculator. So if you like using those formulas, my only concern, and you guys did struggle with this, is you kept forgetting to do the subtract. So you went this plus this because you saw the word or, but you always have to remember to do the subtract. Now the other way you can do this question is by doing a Venn diagram. So this is drink, this is popcorn. Yesterday, when we talked about Venn diagrams, where do you always start with a Venn diagram? In the middle. This is where you start. So my start is 70. Now remember, you subtract as you go out, right? You subtract. So the drink total was 120. So the drink circle has to be 120. But you've already got 70 here. So that means you have to put a 50 there because you have to go 120 minus 70. The popcorn total was 110. So 110 minus 70 is 40. Now, yesterday, when we did set theory, or is the same thing as saying union. Union is this, this, and that. So what we do is we add them up. 50 plus 70 plus 40 is, what is that? 160. And then you put it over the total, which is 250, which is exactly what you get over there. So do I care which way you do it? Not even in the slightest. Because at the end of the day, these are 1-mark questions. And if it's a written response question, they're going to accept your work in any way, shape, or form they can get it. We're just going for answers here. Okay? You guys were split 50-50. Some of you really like this, some of you really like that. It was almost like whatever occurred to you on the question, that's what you did. Some of you didn't have any rhyme or reason, which is great. Just do whatever occurs to you. Okay. Given the following spinner, on a turn, a player must spin twice in a row. You move forward if both spins are odd numbers. Determine the probability of moving forward. How many spins are you doing? 2. So you're spinning, and then you're spinning again. So you've got the first spin and the second spin. And means times. Now, you move forward if both the numbers are odd. So what's the probability of landing on an odd number? 2 out of 3. What's the probability of landing on an odd number? 2 out of 3. You just punched it into your calculator. Now here's the thing. That question may be right after the last one. And that's going to throw you for a loop. I can talk all day about you guys don't get stuck in your head. Like, you've got to shake each question off once you've done it because it's not in order of difficulty. Okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay? And again, you can just punch that into your calculator. I think it's 0.4 repeating. Okay. A group of students places their names on pieces of paper. Put those pieces in a tub to be drawn at random. 5 grade 10 students, 7 grade 11 students, 10 grade 12 students. Put their names into the pieces of paper. Nobody has the same name. That's important. So again, there's no repeats. If 2 slips are drawn without replacement, okay, what does that mean? Without replacement means you take the first name out, and then what do? You do not put it back, and then you pull out the second. This is what we call dependent events, because the first event mucks up the second event. If 2 slips are drawn without replacement between the selections, determine the probability that the first slip is a grade 12 and means times. The second slip is not a grade 12. So the first is a grade 12 and not a grade 12. Well, not a grade 12 is the same as saying what? They're a 10 or 11er, right? Want over total. How many grade 12 names are in the bucket? 10. Out of a total of 5, 7, and 10, that's 22 names. So there's 10 grade 12 names out of 22 in the bucket. I pick out Maddie. Okay, so Maddie's going to whatever this is. Okay. How many names do I have left in the bucket now? 21 because you didn't put the first name back. How many of those names are not grade 12ers? 5 plus 7, 12. So you would just punch that in, hit math frac, and match it up. Okay? So the and questions, and always means times. The or questions mean add, and you have to check for overlap. Okay. Okay. 10 cards are labeled from 1 to 10 and randomly placed face down on the table. 2 cards are flipped over, one after the other, and left facing up. Determine the probability that the first card flipped is an odd number and the second card flipped is a multiple of 4. I don't know why there's a 9 there. Multiple of 4. Okay. 10 cards are labeled 1 to 10. They're placed down. You're going to flip a card over, and then you're going to flip another card over. Determine the probability that the first card flipped is an odd number. So how many odd numbers do you have from 1 to 10? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 5 out of the 10 are odd. Now, are you flipping one card and another card, or one card or another card? And. Now here's the sneaky bit. This card is flipped over. How many cards do you have left to flip over? 9. Because it says you flipped over one after the other. So you didn't flip this first one back. How many cards are multiples of 4? So a multiple of 4, think of it as 4 times tables. So that would be flipping over a 4, flipping over an 8, flipping over a 12. We don't have any 12s because we only went up to 10. So 2 out of 9. Punch it in. That's the answer. Okay, let's finish up with one more today. So you are more than welcome. So here's the thing. All the answers to these questions are online and they are all fully work solutions. So we're just doing as many as we can, okay? But we're just not getting through all of them. So you have a whole nother booklet here that we're probably not even going to touch. That is up to you to do on your own. And the answers are online, okay? I want to show off my amazing artwork and do number 11 with you. I was proud of myself for doing this one, okay? So this is where the diplomas graphic artists do shine, okay? I know they all look Amish, but they're not. I promise. I don't know what I was doing, but I tried, okay? So we'll just leave it at that. Okay, the following are headshots of actors in an upcoming movie. I do not want to watch this movie, not gonna lie. Okay, you must pick 2 people from an upcoming scene. The people that you pick must be mutually exclusive. Okay, what does that mean? No overlap. Which of the following options satisfies this condition? Selecting a man with facial hair and selecting a man with a hat. So what this is saying is do you have any men that have facial hair and a hat? Do any of them have facial hair and a hat? Yep, right here. So that would be overlap, so we can't pick him. Selecting a man with glasses and selecting a man with a hat. Do you have any men wearing glasses and a hat? No. So this is a possibility, but let's just keep going just to make sure, right? Selecting a man with facial hair and selecting a man with a tie. So this guy has facial hair and a tie. That's a tie, by the way. So again, nope. selecting a man with glasses, and selecting a man with a tie. So do we have anyone wearing glasses and a tie? Yep, this dude right here. So the answer is B. Not every question on your diploma is number crunching, okay? But you still need to know the theory to do that. So tomorrow being Friday, tomorrow we're just going to do polynomials. It's a 45-minute class or whatever the heck it is. We're only doing polynomials tomorrow. It should be fairly simple because you just wrote your polynomials test, okay? And then next week, and here's the good news. You finish this last question on the diploma, that is it for word problems. The rest of the diploma is your algebra skills. So it's exponents, logs, rationals, polynomials, sinusoidals. Okay? Okay. Enjoy your day. Thank you for staying. Today was a big one.